Chapter 2. I lifted up mine eyes, and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, Whither goest thou? And he said unto me, To measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof. And behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him, and said unto him, Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein. For I, saith the Lord, will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and will be the glory in the midst of her. Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith the Lord. For I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heaven, saith the Lord. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, After the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. For behold, I will shake mine hand upon them, and they shall be a spoil to their servants. And ye shall know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me. Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion, for lo, I come, and I will dwell in the midst of thee, saith the Lord. And many nations shall be joined to the Lord in that day, and shall be my people. And I will dwell in the midst of thee, and thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto thee. And the Lord shall inherit Judah, his portion in the Holy Land, and shall choose Jerusalem again. Be silent, O all flesh, before the Lord, for he is raised up out of his holy habitation. There are two parts to this one that are always interesting. And the first one is verses 1 through 5, where this man shows up with his measuring device, and they go and have a talk with him and say, No, you're not going to measure out. He's come to measure Jerusalem, the length of it and the breadth of it. And somebody from the Lord says, nope, we're not going to do that. Now this is a little strange, because in the last chapter it said the line was going to be drawn out, and it was going to be measured out, and it was going to be built according to the way. What's going on here? Well, this is where we're talking messianically here. Now, yeah, I love this about dealing with prophecy, in that you get a chance to see the actual literal fulfillment of something that is incredibly wonderful, that never would have been known or guessed at in Zechariah's time. In Zechariah's time, there were not enough people to fill the old city. And the old city was surrounded by this wall, and they were supposed to live within the wall, and there weren't enough people to build it. Build the temple back again, build the city up. They had been there for 6 years at the time, which they had lost the funding to have all of the supplies and everything paid for. And nothing was happening because they weren't paid for it. It was hard to get the materials, all the rest of this stuff. Put it this way, after this, okay, hundreds of years after this, in 70 AD, the Romans come and they tear Jerusalem apart, because Jerusalem had rebelled and rebelled and rebelled and rebelled against the Romans, and they had it with these people. They took apart the walls, they took apart the temple, they demolished it. In the final assault on the Temple Mount, there are stories of the soldiers going up certain parts of the steps with blood running down the steps up to their knees. That's how bad the battle was. I mean, these guys were not more than 5 feet tall, but when you're going through blood that's 1.5 feet deep, that's an awful lot of people died. So it was not an easy battle. For 2,000 years, Jerusalem was, in essence, a waste. And you can have all kinds of stories from all kinds of people who might have been there, or people who thought they should be there, or other people shouldn't be there, or whatever. But the point is very simply made that when Israel was created in 1947 or 48, whichever it was, Jerusalem was a desolated place. Had not been cared for, not been built up, there was no progress. It was as useless, as small, as backwater as it had been for 2,000 years. In 1949, December 1949, the state of Israel declared that Jerusalem was going to be the capital then and forever of the state of Israel. And up until that point, and in the previous 1,000 years, the Arabs had been in control of it, Jerusalem was no bigger than its city walls. Everything that happened in Jerusalem, all the people, everybody lived within the city walls. It was divided into 4 quarters. You had the Jewish quarter, the Christian quarter, the Armenian quarter, and some other quarter, Arab quarter, I guess. And everybody was in there. Beginning the 1950s, progress started, growth started. And if you look at a city map of Jerusalem today, you'll see that in the east side, the Palestinian side, is essentially not much. But that on the west side, part absolutely and irrevocably, we believe, controlled by Israel, that instead of the old city being the major part, it now maybe represents 1/20th of the built-up part of the city of Jerusalem. And so, in this particular spot, where Isaiah is saying it will not be measured, it has nothing to do with what happened in the first chapter. It basically is a way of saying we aren't going to restrict the growth of Jerusalem as a city to within the walls of the old city. The city is going to be built as though walls don't matter, because Israel is going to have the power to protect herself, because she will be protected by the power of the Lord if necessary. And it is so incredibly nice that all of us, after 2,000 years, can look at that city and realize that in our lifetimes, in my lifetime, that prophecy has come absolutely true. Nice to know prophecy is for real. The phrase apple of his eye is one that is fairly old. I guess 2,000 years old or more, 2,500 years old in this case at least. And basically means, it's a figure of speech, and it basically means something that's dearest to the heart, or most appreciated, or most pleasing. And so Jerusalem was most pleasing unto the Lord, partly because the temple was supposed to be there, partly because he chose it, partly because he invested so much in it, partly because it matters a great deal to him, and eventually will matter to all righteous people.